Bob Schmitt, Caesar House, player extraordinaire, and Jim Hannon. I just interviewed Jim Hannon, Stravatos. He said the best player ever fast pitch was Bob Schmitt. Now, was he taking liberties?
That was really nice of him because we were such rivals.
I know. Well, that's the point. Yeah.
I know. That's really nice. I'll have to thank Jim.
Yeah.
Pay him. Have to pay him.
So was this a logic? I mean, you were a really good baseball player. Was kind of going from baseball to kind of this fast pitch. Was that a normal transition?
Well, I played 1 year of fast pitch before. Well, actually, I was going to JCC, and I went home for the summer, and I played fast pitch on a team in Buffalo. That because I was going out with one of the guy's daughters. So that's how I got started playing fast pitch, and I was horrible. And then I came down here, and then I can remember, it's like it was yesterday. It was on a Sunday morning, and there was a knock on the door. I was living with Joe DeMeo at the time, and Timmy Brown was at the door, yeah. And he asked me if I was interested in playing softball with the Caesar House. And it's, of course, I played a little bit with, I think I was on the night lounge and the pub. I played for a year, but, not all that much. But he wanted me to play for them, and I said, well, guys, you guys go to tournaments and things like that, so, I'd like to play as much as I can. So I told him, yeah. And that's how this whole thing got started, and my softball career bloomed from there, and all the people that I've met, played with, played against, and everything, it's just been fantastic. And now this whole event right here, now where I see people, and some of them I remember their names, some of them, I'm not so sure, but it's a great thing, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to be able to play for so long and win so much, not only in fast pitch, which was just for a couple of years, but the modified that came after that.
The jock shop. Most of the conversation, since it relates to fast pitch out there, is the guy on Stravatos, who was a pitcher by the name of
the King.
The King, yeah.
Yeah.
And talk to me about him.
Well, there was an article in the paper, I think, just a couple weeks ago, and we were rivals. We didn't like them, and they didn't like us. And there were some situations where, maybe things didn't go exactly the way either one of us wanted them to go. But you had to respect Jim Adamczak for the pitcher that he was. I have never, ever, even Eddie Feiner, I don't think, was any better than Jim Adamczak was. I had an opportunity, Lori Adamczak, or Lori Lassen, his daughter, had a party, and I went to the party. I didn't know he was going to be there, but he wasn't. I had never spoken a word to him because we were such rivals. But I sat down and I spoke to him, and we talked for the longest time, and I had so much respect for him as a pitcher, but then I got a lot more respect for him as a person when we actually finally got to sit down and talk about everything that we went through in our big rivalry through all those years. Sorry to see him go. He was a fantastic player, and I can't say anything more about him than that. And I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame. And like I said before, as far as him, he's the best player that I ever had to play against, and I had the opportunity to play with him a couple times too. Great competitor, and great ability to be able to pitch the way he did.
What was his pitches that nobody could hit, other than the fastball? I mean, I know he had to smoke.
No, it wasn't so much the fast. It was fast, but it wasn't a straight fastball. It was like a corkscrew that came at you. So, after playing against him for a couple of years, you kind of figured it out a little bit, because if it started out at your knees, you're probably going to have to hit it, because if it started out at your waist and you swung at it, it was up here. That's where he got all his strikeouts. He didn't really have a changeup or anything like that, but he had that corkscrew riser that nobody could hit. And he was a great hitter too.
We were just talking about that. How
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
kind of. I forget that. So did you have the adrenaline rush when you knew you saw the schedule and it was Stravatos tonight
Oh,
at
absolutely.
Danielson?
Yeah, that's what you really look forward to, and so did everybody else, because when you went to the games, then you look out in the stands, or out behind center field. Even when we played down at Jones and Gifford, there was no place to park. There was so much going on down there, people all over. I remember one time, oh my God, we were playing them, and it was a really close game, and I got a hit, and I was on first base. And I'm thinking, am I going to steal? Am I going to steal? Am I going to steal? Do you think I can make it? And I got leaned off a little bit too much, and I got picked off. And I thought, oh my God. And I think we lost that game 3-2, but my fault. Wasn't paying attention.
Was there a story where somehow you hit a double and kind of stumbled? Tell the story.
Yeah. Close game. I hit a ball in the gap at Danielson, right center field, and I could run back then. And I'm thinking, I got a really good shot at this to make it an inside the park home run. So I round first, and I could see the ball out in right center field. I said, man, I got to go. So I went and I looked out in right center field, and I made a mistake, and I tripped over second base, and I went flying all the way to shortstop. So I had to get up, go back to second base, and my potential home run turned into a double. So I'm sitting on the base there, and I'm all dirty and everything and ticked off at myself. And he comes walking over, and he had never spoken to me one single word. And he stands over me and he goes, "Hey kid, are you all right?" And I was really young at the time, and I said, oh God, how am I gonna deal with this? But, and then I played with them a couple times, and, I had to always bat first when I played with them, because those guys were older. They didn't have anybody that could run. And he always batted last, and I don't know why, because he was such a good hitter.
Yeah.
But, I'm batting first, he's batting ninth, and when the eighth batter's batting, I'm in the on-deck circle waiting for Jim. And he comes out of the dugout, hands me his towel.
Yeah, I was just thinking the towel.
Yeah, hands me his towel, and I got to hand him his bat. But, we didn't have any of that kind of stuff on Seizure House, but, he deserved it. He was really special.
I was just talking to Ron Fredris, and he said, obviously kidding, but maybe not. The last month, he's had trouble. He's been so excited about this event that he's had trouble sleeping because he's been so amped up.
Yeah.
From your perspective, when you found out this was going to happen, how have you felt?
Well, Tommy Brown, I don't know what it was that spurred him on to do something like this, but man, it was a fantastic idea. Was it you, Scott?
No, actually, I'd seen him he's a scorekeeper at Southwestern Baseball, because his son Jared is the varsity baseball coach.
Oh, I didn't know Jared is his son.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, I stand right next to the dugout, and I would be chatting with Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And this spring, he said, "You know what?" He goes, he said, "You remember the Stravatos and the Caesar House games?" And I go, "Well, yeah." I said, "I don't remember specific stories. I just remember going to Danielson and standing among 4 and 5 deep all the way around."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Well, I'm thinking about having a reunion." And I go, "Man, that would be awesome."
Yeah.
Then he got a hold of Randy Anderson, and then they kind of collaborated on.
Yeah, well, the way Randy is, he'll jump on something like that, And
this is the ultimate history lesson. So I guess what I'm curious about, when you found out, what was your initial thought? Like, wow, this is pretty cool. Right?
Well, my initial thought was, there's a lot of people that I would really like to see, and I hope they would come. And then I started thinking about guys that had passed, especially a lot of the guys on Stravatos. I mean, they're all gone. So many of them we're fortunate that a lot of us are still around. But I got really excited about it, and I told my wife, I said, Jody, don't go to this. Because I'm not going to have any time for you, because I got to spend a lot of time talking to a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, it's funny, you just brought up a point, and again, this is now 72, but at the time I'm watching this, an impression. There was the kids, Caesar House,
Yeah,
and then there were this senior
Right.
group, Stravatos.
yeah, with the king.
Yeah. I mean, is that fair? Is that a fair assessment, sort of the age?
Yeah, oh,
gap?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an age gap. Yeah, and Ronnie Fredris, he was good, but he wasn't the king. And that we could win with defense, and they won with the king.
But Joe was talking, and I've talked to Ron, I talked to Joe, and Joe said, I had this drop. My pitch was the drop. I couldn't blow by anybody, but I had such a defensive team that it was just,
Yeah.
they caught everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was Harnish and myself, and Barry and Brian Brown. So many Browns. Couldn't keep them all straight. Brian Brown in the outfield, and we covered everything. And the infield, Shenefield at third base, and Kenny Martin playing shortstop, and Everett Matlock at first base, who could do a split if you threw him the ball. And Bags behind the plate is, I think, all the modified that we played, I think if it wasn't for Bags, we would have never been as successful as we were. I mean, he could really run the show.
So, is there a highlight game for you? As you're going to look in that crowd, and you look around, you see somebody and go up and say, do you remember the game?
The King in the Court game was the best one for me. Yeah, I had 3 hits in that game. Yeah, we won 4-1. But I had 3 hits, but they only had 3 outfielders, 2 outfielders plus the King. And I batted third, and in the first inning, he struck out Joe Mastretta on 3 pitches, and then he struck out Bob Burns on 3 pitches, and then he had 2 strikes on me, and I had seen him pitch when I was in the service. So I said, the guy's going to throw me a changeup. So I was ready for it, so I hit that one, and then I had a couple dribblers here and there, so I was 3 for 3 with an RBI, and really didn't do much. It just worked out right for me, but that was a big deal for me. Winning the national championships too, but that was modified.
Sure. Well, you've done so much, Bob. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah.
This is fabulous. Thank you.
I appreciate this whole deal.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Well, go back and enjoy.
I will.
No need
I will.
wasting your time
Yeah,
with us.
thank you. Oh, it's not a waste of time. Anytime, Greg.